But a remarkable series of events brought Yuri, Jack, Johnny, Pistol, Joe Hunter, Joe Messina, Bob, and Eddie out of obscurity. Only through fate did they get a taste of the kind of fame that for years had only been reaped on the vocalists of the songs they styled.
They're like unsung heroes, sort of, and it must be just amazing to have it finally happen.
After a while, that hits you every day. And then I start practicing signing my autograph. I said, this is next. After this, boy, this is going to be autograph time.
Back in Detroit in the 60s, the Funk Brothers weren't looking for glory. They were studio musicians looking to make a living. What they didn't realize at the time was that they were also making a legend.
We weren't really interested in that at the time. It was just, well, number one, it was a job, and number two, it was a chance of expression.
Motown's glory era eventually wound down. But while the Funk Brothers went away, the hits never did. The legacy and glory of the Motown sound had somehow evaded the Funk Brothers, the very musicians who had created that sound.
I can only speak for myself. I was just so delighted to do my passion and get paid for it.
But I think they need to know the names of the Funk Brothers that were on that music. That's what I think.
That might never have happened if it weren't for Alan Slutsky, a musician researching the Motown sound. When he met James Jameson's widow in 1986, he learned the untold plight of the Funks.
I just related to their story of, the fact that they had given so much to the world and got nothing back.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2.
Alan met the rest of the Funk Brothers and became friendly with them. He wrote a book about them called Standing in the Shadows of Motown and introduced them to a filmmaker friend of his named Paul Justman.
I realized that these men had played on what I call the soundtrack of my life. And I didn't know who they were. And that blew my mind.
Alan Slutsky's fascination with the unsung Motown masters grew into an obsession. He made it his life's work and exhausted his life savings to get a film made about the Funk Brothers.
I guess everybody has a crusade somewhere in their life that they pick up for, maybe a charity, maybe whatever, and this is the one I picked.
Alan, being the type of person he is, we were convinced that he had an opportunity because he was so enthusiastic, had a concept. We sucked us right on in.
As time was going by, the excitement and the enthusiasm kind of started to dwindle, and we were wondering if it was ever going to happen.
But Alan's resolve was relentless. And in 2000, principal photography was finally about to begin on the Funk Brothers movie, with Paul Justman directing. Getting ready for production, the old Soul Brothers reunited after decades of not seeing each other.
I'm Joe Hunter. Oh, Joe Hunter.
The men who were sitting retired on their porches were now back in the studio, sitting behind their instruments.
It was real scary at first, because when we come in the first day of rehearsal, man, I was all nervous. I was saying to myself, man, this is gonna sound like mess.
When the band got together to play, it just clicked right away. Everything gelled.
I was surprised. After a couple of days, it was something to listen to,
Filming took place over the course of 6 weeks, and another 6 months later, each brother received a video copy of the movie and an itinerary of their publicity tour schedule.
I just kept looking at it, over and over and over.
4 times I looked at it to believe, in order to convince me that it was real.
To their amazement, before they knew it, the Motown masters were back on the road. Only this time, they were the headliners.
We're talking to each other and say, is this real? To make sure that what I'm seeing and what I'm feeling is not me. And they were saying the same thing that I was saying.
I hope it means that that there's some redemption, that there's some victory, that there's some joy, that there's, I know they enjoyed making the film.
Now I'm getting my face to go with the music. Before it was just the music out there, you know.
The men in the shadows were now in the sun. They were now being interviewed, swarmed by the press, recognized for their genius, and revered by a new generation. And they were having the time of their lives.
But you know what? I love it. I do. I'm ready for it. And I know these guys are.
We know this didn't have to happen. And so we're so appreciative of what happened.
Right now, I'm up on top. Whatever you name, I'm on top of it.
The beautiful part about the Funk Brothers is that these guys are here. These guys are here to see this film come to life.
Against all odds, after years of being neglected, the Funk Brothers' legacy is now assured. No longer will music lovers ignore the sound that gives Motown its very soul. And for the men whose music has been the soundtrack of our lives, that heartbeat of recognition is the sweetest sound of them all.
I'm going to enjoy it. My wife's going to enjoy it. And whatever happens, it's a wonderful feeling, man.